This is my take from podcast. If you want to listen summary of podcast, start with a free trial for detailed summaries on Apple Podcasts and Spotify using link in descriptions and support with tips on Patreon. Here is key point discussed in podcast Neil deGrasse Tyson: The Brutal Truth About Astrology. Our breath contains molecules Jesus inhaled. And then again too. I'll dead. You know, it's really interesting to think about how our perception of the universe and our place in it can shape our beliefs and behaviors. Neil deGrasse Tyson talks about how, as a scientist, he's always been drawn to the objective truths of the universe. But at the same time, he recognizes the importance of understanding and respecting people's spiritual and religious beliefs. He's actually gone out of his way to read and learn about different religions, not just to be able to talk to people about them, but to really understand where they're coming from. One of the things that really struck me about our conversation was when Neil talked about how, as humans, we're all connected not just to each other, but to the universe itself. He points out that the elements that make up our bodies are the same elements that make up the stars and the planets, and that we're all part of this vast interconnected web of life. He talks about how people are becoming more lonely, more isolated, and how we're losing that sense of community and connection that's so important for our well-being. Neil also talks about how, as a scientist, he's always been drawn to the idea of objective truth, and how he believes that's essential for building a better world. He says that when we value what we think is true more than what is true, that's a recipe for disaster. Neil talks about how his own experiences with grief and loss have shaped his perspective on life and the universe. He lost both of his parents in the last 5 years, and he says that while it was sad, it wasn't tragic because they had lived full lives. His father was involved in the civil rights movement, and his mother was a gerontologist, so they both cared deeply about the plight of others. He's also talking about the importance of appreciating the little things in life, like nature, and not taking them for granted. He mentions a poem by Joyce Kilmer, On a Tree, which is all about appreciating the beauty of a tree. He's also talking about the idea of simulated universes, and how it's possible that we're living in a simulation created by some advanced life form. And he's saying that even if that's the case, it doesn't really matter, because we're still living our lives and making choices. But he's also saying that he doesn't want to live forever, because he thinks that would be selfish, and that it's more important to make a positive impact on the world while we're here. And then he's talking about AI and how it's going to change the way we live and work. But he's also saying that true creativity is not just about aping what's come before, but about taking leaps and making new discoveries. He's also talking about the idea of humans and computers becoming one, and how that's going to change the way we live and work. And he's saying that it's not just about the technology, but about how we use it to make a positive impact on the world. And he's talking about the idea of going to Mars, and how it's not just a technological challenge, but a practical one. He's saying that it's not just about getting to Mars, but about how we're going to sustain ourselves once we're there. And yet, despite all this progress, there's still so much we don't know. Like, what's the nature of dark matter and dark energy? What's the fate of the universe? These are questions that have puzzled scientists for decades, and we're still searching for answers. And then there's the search for extraterrestrial life. But what we do know is that the ingredients for life are everywhere in the universe, and it's likely that life exists elsewhere. It's a pretty compelling argument for the existence of life beyond Earth. But even if we do find evidence of extraterrestrial life, it's not like we'll suddenly have all the answers. So, if we do find life elsewhere, it's likely to be just as complex and mysterious as life on Earth. It's a reminder that there's always more to learn, and that the universe is full of mysteries waiting to be uncovered. So, maybe we should be thinking about life in a more abstract sense, rather than just assuming it'll be like us. It's a reminder of our own place in the universe, and the importance of living in the present and appreciating the beauty of the world around us. We're often encouraged to ask questions, but not all questions are created equal. Some questions are illegitimate, and it's up to us to figure out what's worth exploring. It's not just about asking any old question, but about asking the right questions that can lead to real discovery. In fact, that's often where the real learning begins. It's about being curious, being open-minded, and being willing to explore and learn. We need to be able to evaluate evidence, to question assumptions, and to think critically about the world around us. It's not just about accepting things at face value, but about digging deeper and seeking out the truth. He's not afraid to challenge assumptions and to ask tough questions. We don't have to be experts in everything, but we can all strive to be curious, to be open-minded, and to be willing to learn and grow. Neil deGrasse Tyson talks about how meaning is a very personal thing, and how we all have to create our own meaning in life. We can't just rely on someone else's answers or someone else's meaning. We have to find our own way and create our own purpose. It's not about waiting for someone else to give us the answers or to tell us what to do. It's about taking ownership of our own lives and creating our own meaning and purpose. Neil deGrasse Tyson talks about how regrets are things that we only realize when it's too late, and how we can't always anticipate what we'll regret. But he also talks about how we can learn from our mistakes and use them as opportunities for growth and learning. We're all going to make mistakes, and we're all going to have regrets. But it's how we respond to those mistakes and regrets that really matters. We can use them as opportunities to learn and grow, or we can let them hold us back. But the truth is, we're not even close to having all the answers, and we need to be open to new ideas and perspectives that challenge everything we think we know. Until then, you're still a work in progress, and you need to stay open to learning and growing every day. Because the truth is, there's way more to discover than anything we've already learned. Because when we think we know better than everybody else, that's when we get